Bones are important. Bones hold us upright. The skull protects the most important organ in the body and yet the most delicate organ in the body, which is the brain. The only exposed bone in the whole body are teeth. Dentists make a fortune because so many people, their teeth are breaking down. Unfortunately, today there's a condition called osteoporosis, which is bones, they're breaking up far too young. You see, our bones should be strong till the day we die.
This is Barbara ONeill, a famous health expert known worldwide. She strongly supports holistic and natural health, with many testimonials backing her methods. In this video, we'll focus on the important topic of bone health, especially as we age. If you're concerned about weak bones, fractures, or osteoporosis, you're in the right place. We'll explore simple, natural remedies to improve bone health without relying on medications. By understanding these key factors, you can take proactive steps to strengthen your bones. Stay tuned for practical tips and insights to support your bone health journey.
I don't know whether you are familiar with the work of Dr. Weston Price. He's a dentist who in the 30s, he went all around the islands photographing people's teeth. Perfect teeth, perfect alignment. And then in some countries, only 10 years later, some of these islands, white man had come in with the devitalized food and he took more photographs. In fact, his whole book is just about photographs. And there the teeth started to be cramped because the people weren't getting the nutrition. So our bones need nutrition. Unfortunately, today there's a condition called osteoporosis, which is bones, they're breaking up far too young. You see, our bones should be strong till the day we die. So what I'd like to look at in this presentation on osteoporosis is what causes the deterioration of our bones and how we can strengthen our bones. There is a misconception today that bones are made of calcium, but bones are not made of calcium. Bones are made of a mineral balance. You see, calcium is called the king, and this is where the problem arises. I think this is where the misconception about calcium has happened. It's called the king because when calcium gets into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. So yes, he does deserve the title of king. But bones are not made of calcium. Bones are made of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. Let me show you. So the minerals that bones are made up of are boron and calcium. There certainly is some calcium in there, chromium and iron, and magnesium, and manganese, and selenium, and sulfur, and silica, potassium, phosphorus, and zinc. That's what bones are made of, and 64 trace minerals. So the million-dollar question is, where do we find such a thing? In his book, The Calcium Lie, Dr. Robert Thompson gives a very good illustration of this. He says, this is his view, he says the clearest indication of a creator God is seawater. He said, you think about it, the rain comes down, it washes into the rivers. On my morning walk this morning, I was going by a fast river, and we've had a lot of rain here in Vancouver. And the water was a milky colour. You know what the milk is? It's minerals. Minerals that have been washed down from the heavy rains. And by the time the waterways get to the sea, it's a very salty taste because of the minerals. You see, in seawater, there are approximately 92 minerals. And the reason why Dr. Robert Thompson says that the seawater is the clearest indication of a creator God is because that mineral balance and proportion that you will find in seawater is what you'll find in your bones, is what you'll find in your blood, is what you'll find in every tissue of the body, the fluid that the brain swims in, the lymphatic fluid. It is all this same balance.
Seawater is rich in essential minerals like sodium, magnesium, calcium, potassium, iodine, and zinc, all of which support vital functions such as regulating nerve signals, aiding muscle contractions, and strengthening bones. In fact, many of the minerals in seawater are the same ones our bodies need to stay healthy. However, due to its high salt content, seawater is undrinkable. Consuming it dehydrates the body by drawing water from cells, forcing the kidneys to work overtime to remove the excess salt. This strain can lead to kidney damage, further dehydration, and other serious health issues.
But what do bones need, students? Do they need calcium? Not by itself. So I've got some good news. You can save money by not buying any more calcium supplements. And the money you save, you can buy something that is one of the best ways to get salt into your body, or the minerals, which is Celtic Salt. Or it's getting hard to get, and apparently it's my fault, so you can get Baja salt is another one that's very, very similar. Celtic salt is hand harvested from Brittany on the French coast, very pristine part of France. In fact, the French government have declared it a heritage zone so that it can never be contaminated. 4.5 million acres. That's incredible. The Baja salt is on another pristine place in Mexico, and it's a hand-harvested sea salt as well. And because it's a hand-harvested sea salt, they retain the minerals. In fact, they retain approximately between 82 and 84 of the minerals. In seawater, there's approximately 92 minerals. So where are the rest? Well, that last 10 are in such tiny proportions, pico amounts. A pico is a measurement that's barely measurable, that it's inevitable that some of them are lost in the process of harvesting the salt. And the book that I read about the Celtic salt in Brittany, they've got peninsulas like this, and the salt flats basically are like this, and the wind, it comes across these areas, so the salt is dried very quickly. And because it's dried very quickly, there are a lot of mineral gases locked up in the crystal. So I prefer to buy my salt as crystals. And in that crystal are trace amounts, part per million amounts of iodine. Now, when the seas crash, the iodine goes up into suspension and settles on the land. And that's why the vegetables grown on the coast have a higher iodine level. Vegetables grown right inland, almost no iodine. And if you buy iodized salt, you're buying 3 minerals: sodium, chloride, and iodine. And within about, is estimated, 2 hours of opening it, all the iodine is lost. But when you buy the Celtic salt or the Baja salt, it's locked up in the gases. If you take iodine, it's out of your body in 20 minutes. But if you take that little crystal of Celtic salt before every glass of water, you're giving part per million minor amounts of iodine, but little by little by little, that is the best way to take iodine into the body. And iodine is the main food used by the thyroid gland. So that's an interesting piece of information that I wanted to share with you while I share about how we get minerals into the bones, because bones are not made of minerals. Sorry, not a calcium, they're made of minerals. They're made of this balance. I'd like to suggest that refined salt, with its 2 minerals, has lost its savour. It's lost all the other minerals. Thought of that when I was up in Minneapolis and saw them throwing salt on the road to melt the ice. 80% of the industrialised salt goes to industry, 20% goes to humans, and that's the refined salt.
Seawater contains 92 minerals, with about 30% sodium and 50% chloride. During salt production, these form the first crystals, which are collected, bleached, and treated with aluminum to make table salt. Our bodies also need salt in a balanced form, like natural Himalayan salt, which contains 75 minerals. Although pricier, these unrefined salts offer a healthier alternative to table salt and are a better choice for your diet.
We also get our minerals from greens. Every day we should be eating dark, green, leafy vegetables. If you don't eat dark, green, leafy vegetables every day, and ideally they should be organic because organic food has a far higher nutrient content because of the microbes in the soil. Remember from one of our other lectures that it's the microbes in the soil that release the minerals out of the soil and put them into the plant. So if you're not having greens every day, you really should have green barley. You really should have a dose of something like wheatgrass or chlorophyll. So there's quite a few available today. They have these minerals in their balanced form. That's what our bones need. So if you are on calcium supplements, my suggestion is that you stop your calcium supplements. Have you noticed in aged care? I've spoken to quite a few nurses who work in aged care, and they say everyone is on these great big calcium supplements and everyone has osteoporosis. It's not doing it. It's not doing it because calcium taken in that form can actually harden the tissues. You see, calcium hardens cement. It doesn't harden bones. It can harden the tissues, it can harden the arteries, contributing to atherosclerosis. We should be taking nutrients into our body the way God put them into the food. So it's very important to have your organic food as much as possible. So let me define the greens that are very high in these minerals. So you've got spinach and silver beet. Now you have something we don't have in Australia, collard greens. They're also very, very high. And remember, when you cook them, you do not lose your minerals. The only way you could lose your minerals if you were to cook the vegetables and then throw the water away. Remember in the old days, women on their fuel stoves used to have a pot at the back and they'd put the tops from the turnips, they'd put the tops from the carrots, they'd put the ends from the carrots, and that just boiled away slowly all day, and then they'd strain it and they use that as their stock for their soups. You see, when a soup or a dish has a lot of minerals, that's high flavour. It's to the point now you can go into shops and buy stock cubes, can't you? But be careful because a lot of stock cubes have monosodium glutamate in them. And be careful because monosodium glutamate today can be called natural flavour enhancer. It can also be called hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrogenated vegetable protein. Very important to become aware of the names of monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate is a neurotoxin. It's also called an excitotoxin. It causes brain cells to overfire, and when they overfire, they deteriorate and die. So you don't want to go anywhere near those.
Salads with leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula are rich in calcium and vitamin K, both vital for bone health. Calcium builds strong bones, while vitamin K aids in bone protein formation and calcium retention. Adding nuts, seeds, and fruits provides magnesium, potassium, and vitamin C, further supporting bone density. Regularly eating nutrient-packed salads can help maintain bone strength and lower the risk of bone-related issues like osteoporosis.
One of the problems with bones today is people are taking things that are leaching these minerals out. One is caffeine. Caffeine has a very acid effect on the body. And what happens when acid-forming foods are taken into the body? Let's make a list of the acid-forming foods. So we're going to make a no here. These things should not go into the body. So caffeine and meat whether it be white or red, dairy products. The only dairy product that probably is on a acid-alkaline scale of neutral would be raw milk from an organic cow. But myself, I'm a fifth-generation Australian Scottish descent. I can't handle the cow's milk very well. I acknowledge that there are some people who've got dairy in their heritage who can handle it. The problem is, if you give the cow's milk that's in the shop to a newborn baby calf, that calf will die. So there's a big difference between raw and not raw. So your dairy products have an acid effect. Also, the hybridized wheat of today, it was hybridized in the 50s, went worldwide in the 70s, so by the 1990s, all the breads, the pastas, the cereals are all made out of the hybridized wheat. And the intensive crossbreeding that it went through created a very acid, or created a wheat that leaves quite an acid residue. So all of these foods leave an acid effect in the body. Now, anything that leaves an acid effect in the body, it actually leaches calcium out. Let me explain. The most acidic substance is sulfuric acid, and the most alkaline substance is calcium. And when a person is having high caffeine, meat, dairy products, another couple are alcohol and tobacco. So when a person is taking all of these things in, it creates a very acid condition in the blood. Now, if that acid condition goes too low, you see, our blood should be between 7.35 and 7.4. Now, if it drops down to 7.22, that person will go into a coma and die of acidosis. So as soon as it starts to drop, because the person's having such a lot of acid-forming foods, the body says, we've got a crisis here. The lungs and the kidneys are trying very hard. They're two organs that are constantly keeping the acid-alkaline balance right. And because it's dropping so low, the body yells out, we've got to get our last resort buffer system. The calcium, the most alkaline mineral, is pulled out of its biggest storage house, which is the bones. It comes into the blood in a form of calcium phosphate, comes into the blood, neutralizes that acid condition, and then it goes back to what it should be, and the person's safe. But now at a cost. Now we have free calcium excess floating through the blood. And the body says, now what are we going to do with this? So it dumps it on the bones as bone spurs. It dumps it in the joints as gout, arthritis. It dumps it in the kidneys, contributing to kidney stones, in the gallbladder, contributing to gallstones, and I'm sure we've heard of all of those things. And if a person goes to the doctor with a sore lump on their wrist, the doctor says, oh, that's a bone spur. And you might say, well, what is a bone spur? And he will say, it's a calcium deposit. So what's the next question? Because we always should have the questions on the tip of our tongue. Why has the body dumped it on my bone and not in my bones? Unless the doctor has studied nutrition, he may not know. And the beauty of castor oil, do you remember Psalm 104 verse 14, that God gave herbs for the service of man? The beauty of castor oil is you can put castor oil on that bone spur and it'll break up the bone spur, but it will never break up your bone, because that's what herbs do. They just work with the needs of the body. But it explains why people are getting bone spurs. It's because of the acid environment that these foods create, causing a leaching of calcium out of its storage house to negate that acid residue. So that is a big contributing factor to osteoporosis, is having foods that create an acid environment in the body. And that's why there's a no there. If you want strong bones, basically these things have to stop.
Avoid actions that leach minerals from the body, as they are essential for bone strength, nerve function, and muscle health. Losing these minerals can weaken bones, cause cramps, or impair nerve signaling. Over time, poor cooking methods or dietary habits that drain minerals can lead to deficiencies, affecting overall health. To maintain these nutrients, focus on cooking and eating practices that preserve mineral content.
But the bones need rest. They need to be fully rested and revived every night. And a lot of bones aren't getting that. And the best exercise for strengthening the bones is rebounding. Strength comes by exercise. There's no other way. We know that about muscles, and we often only refer to muscles, but bones are also strengthened by exercise. And the bone strengthening exercise that is more effective than any other is rebounding. That's why best exercise for kids, get a trampoline. And if they've got a spare moment, where are they? On the trampoline. I've come to the conclusions people get old because they stop jumping. And that jumping is constantly going against gravity. And that's why it's such a powerful form of exercise. I read a book by Albert Carter, and he was I think it was an Olympian trampolinist, and he wanted to know why it had such an effect. And the only place he could find in the 1980s, 90s that did research on it was NASA. And NASA found it was the only form of exercise that prepared their astronauts for outer space, because in outer space, there's no gravity. And they found when their astronauts came back, sometimes they'd suffered 25% bone and muscle loss. That's a lot. So they discovered that trampolining before, they didn't lose as much, and trampolining when they got back restored them quicker than any other form of exercise. And if you're not used to the rebounder, which is a little trampoline, remember, just start with a health bounce. And if your balance isn't good, the rebounder will restore your balance, because our balance is set by the bottom of our feet and the fine mechanisms in our ear. And what rebounding does is it resets that. And remember, when we looked at our immune system, we looked at where our red and white blood cells are made. Where are they made? Bone marrow, in the bone marrow. And so strengthening the bones strengthens your body's ability to make your red and white blood cells.
Exercise boosts the production of red and white blood cells by increasing oxygen demand and improving circulation. It enhances bone marrow function, which produces blood cells and strengthens the immune system, increasing white blood cells to fight infections. Staying active helps maintain a healthy balance of these vital cells. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me to discuss bone health. We've explored how daily habits, minerals, and nutrition support strong bones. Incorporating natural salts, hydration, and exercise can significantly improve your skeletal health. Small changes can make a big difference in your overall well-being. If you have any questions or need further advice, please drop them in the comments below. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more valuable health tips, and explore our other videos for more ways to enhance your wellness journey. And as always, stay informed, stay healthy,